Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CX Live Dialogues. I'm delighted today to welcome Ed CREASEY, the Director of Pre-Sales for International Markets at Calabrio, to the show today. Welcome, Ed.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, obviously, 2022 is seeing a lot of momentum in terms of changes as well as evolution in the CX space, primarily in the Middle East. What are some of the main challenges, Ed, that you are seeing in the CX industry this far?
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to stick on the CX industry because obviously we are in a world of some quite unique challenges this year. So I think that's the context I would say, though, is, we've been through an incredibly traumatic 2 years. We were expecting a nice, easy year this year, and we have a whole new set of challenges. So I think that's the framework we must look at CX. There's a lot of anxiety about. And that's both, health, economy, etc. So there's three challenges I pick out a lot. The number one is about making hybrid working work for companies. I think people are now, both in the contact center, even in my world, working for a vendor, is how do we go from this completely at home model to an effective hybrid model where people get a fair chance at being successful. There is some data that shows that people in the workplace were more successful than people who worked remotely pre-pandemic. So you're going to make sure it's hybrid working is fair, it's flexible, and it works for people. And I think there's particularly in the Middle East where cloud adoption is at its start, really. I think we learned a lot about the challenges of having an on-premises footprint for your CX tools during that. So I think having the tools for hybrid working so employees get the flexibility they need. The second area I see and linked to this is not just having flexibility in when and where I work, but it's also having the right career path. I am a bit of a dinosaur. I'm a Generation Xer who was a contact center agent back in 1992, before there were even contact centers. But what we're seeing now with the latest generation of contact center agents is actually wanting a different sort of career, something that's personalized to them. So organizations need to curate their career in a different way than they do at the moment. I just realized I was caught waving to a colleague saying goodbye. I apologize for that. The final one I think is really important, and I've kind of picked on it already, is having real true cloud available to you. So I think a lot of organizations in the Middle East are looking about migrating to the cloud, but there's different types of clouds available. There is kind of what we call fake cloud, where you still have some of the challenges we've always had with technology, which is lack of innovation, hard to scale, hard to upgrade, compared to true cloud. And I'll talk about that a bit later, I think.
Wonderful. I think you've touched upon some very important points there. One is obviously the shift towards the hybrid working model, which, as you rightly said, was not so much in popularity pre-COVID, but cloudification in the Middle East has really picked up in the last 2 years. And what you've just referenced about moving your contact center to the cloud is something that a lot of organizations are obviously evaluating as we speak. Now, what would you say is the top technology enabler which is driving the transformation that we are seeing in the customer engagement as well as in the contact center space? Obviously, considering that cloud is one of those, but then what else should CIOs and CX heads be looking of in their technology stack these days?
It's a great question. We are a workforce engagement company, so I'm going to talk a little bit about those enablers. The first one I would say is based on the levels of workplace stress. Now, we all know, anyone who works hybrid knows actually you've never worked harder than you do when you work in a hybrid or work from home environment. I know I certainly have never worked harder. So that old concern that people would be out of sight, out of mind, and they wouldn't be working has been proven not really to be true. So in our research, agents have never been more stressed, and even though they have the flexible life we never thought they would have, but their number one concern is a better work-life balance and more flexibility. So the solution is the nuts and bolts, one of the basics of the contact center, the schedule or the shift that someone's working on to deliver a customer experience. And that's a key opportunity to alleviate stress and deliver flexibility. So the kind of tools that we can provide are things like, build your own schedule. This is at the cutting edge of what people are looking for, where instead of giving people, the ability to choose when they have lunch or choose move maybe a break or choose their holidays, we do all of that. But this is also saying, look, build your own schedule. You can work when you need to work. You give the organization the tools so that the management can say, look, I still need to deliver an excellent service level here, but you can put rules in so you can make sure you deliver a great customer experience, but give employees flexibility. So that's the first one. The second one is about the type of coaching and training you give people. When we research this issue, employees want to have more frequent, more personalized and more flexible training. So the type of solutions, there is one really easy one that everyone can do with their current tools. They don't need to invest in anything, and that is self-assessment. The tradition of assessing employees was generally a bit top-down. A manager or a team leader or a quality assessor would assess you and you get told how well you do. I really like the two people coming together to assess how well they delivered a customer experience. Simple self-assessment tool. So you could push a chat or an email or a call to an employee and say, why don't you assess yourself? How well did you think you did there? And the manager does the same thing and you come together and discuss. You'll get a far richer conversation. Other things that are really important for coaching is having all the agent data in one place, all the employee data in one place. I was an agent. I had great first contact resolution, brilliant at complaints. My handle time was terrible. I talk too much, as you may have noticed. So if I was going to be coached back then, I should have been coached on my handle time, my call control. The next person may have had great handle time, but their complaint levels were high. The next person may need help with a particular process. The next person may need help with selling. So you've got to have all your data in one place to be able to do that. Finally, and one of my favorites, being an analytics person, is getting specific, getting specific contacts, interactions, pushed to employees so they can really understand the context. And I think that needs some technology and that needs some analytics. The final piece is, as you've said, is having a cloud solution. So they are tools that are designed for ease of use of a remote workforce. And I think that is the big change of that cloud can deliver. Can your CX and workforce engagement tools deliver to a remote workforce? Great example was we use in our analytics, we use desktop and screen recording. Now, in the past, when I looked across my contact center, I could see employees. I could see someone who was struggling. I might see someone's body language getting emotive. I might see someone's hand up. I had a visibility of my contact center. I don't now, certainly part of the time. So be able to use technology so you can see what's going on. There's some great tools there. Getting all your communication channels on one platform. During the pandemic, we've launched a lot of new channels very quickly, and often these are in silos. And overall, just getting visibility of the challenges a remote worker faces.
That's wonderful, Ed. And what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of focus towards the value of care. And that's obviously the care that we want to provide to our employees and the contact center agents that are working for us. And clearly, there's a big drive within organizations to enhance and amplify that value of care and make sure that journey then eventually leads towards personalization, towards hyper-personalization, in order to help them deliver better outcomes for themselves as well as the organization. Now, clearly, what you've just mentioned, showcases that you offer a really connected suite of application that goes beyond the traditional, CRMs to help organizations create, manage, as well as serve their customers and their contact centers, as well as their workforce. Can you guide us a bit more about how exactly this would enable that interaction to cement itself further?
Yeah, I think one of the core things to cement an interaction is the interaction itself.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, I was a mystery shopper. So before contact center technology was recording calls and emails, and back then chats didn't exist, but you had to pretend to be a customer and capture it. And we had loads of fun with cameras and making phone calls, pretending to be customers. But people have this incredibly untapped, rich source of data about the customer experience, and that is those interactions. So the first thing I recommend people do is say, right, where is my customer journey? How easy is it for me to see simply the interactions between our employees and our customers? And I think based on my years of experience, you'll find a lot of silos. And that's where the cloud makes a big difference. And that's where we try to make a difference, because what we do is we enable organizations in one suite, in one true cloud suite, to see all their customer interactions. So they have a tool where they can see everything together. Secondly, they were able to evaluate those for quality. So the next capability is you want to be able to check how effective that conversation is using traditional quality management tools. Third one, which is a sort of adjunct to quality, is then saying, right, quality management is really important to assess it, but it's low volume, low sample. What you can do with analytics then is search 100% of your contacts. And we use speech, text, and desktop and screen. So I can actually see the whole customer experience in one. We have an enterprise workforce management capability. This is where the whole flexibility and scheduling is important. So you can forecast and schedule your employees effectively and give them that, you can give them the flexibility so they control their work-life balance. And all of this capability, which is typically in silos and often on premises, is in the cloud with one business intelligence tool overlying it. So what that enables you to do is see your workforce management data, your quality management data, your analytics data, all together in one view of the truth. So that's what we do. We're very excited about it, and we've had a great couple of years when people really needed to do that in the cloud.
That's amazing. And again, you know, the dashboard view you're talking about is definitely a sought after solution by organizations. It's definitely very important for them to get that a very quick synopsis of, you know, where they stand with every conversation, with every customer, and really evaluate the agents as well. Now, in terms of some concrete examples, are you able to talk to us more about companies you have empowered to deliver the exceptional CX that you're talking about, and what impact they observed on their overall business?
Of course, yeah. Again, in the Middle East, we're working with banks, telecoms companies, and outsourcers. So a couple of examples will be Telecom Egypt and Intelsia. But I'll do a case study around the CX from our analytics prize winner. So every year we give a prize, a cash prize. So we put our money where our mouth is to people who are using our analytics products. And this company was an information services company, Thomson Reuters. And I love this story because it was very much about the themes we're talking about today. How do you deal with hybrid working? And they had the first cohort of employees who were being trained completely remotely, which is totally different to the way you would hothouse a set of employees. So what they used was our analytics capabilities. So they could categorize every single conversation. They could see when the customers were put on hold. They could see what was happening on the screen and analyze what desktop activity. So they were really focusing on long calls with hold. And what they learned from that was their training wasn't good enough. And they got visibility from this remote workforce immediately using analytics. By doing that, they were able to rewrite their induction training. They were able to reduce their costs, so their hold time went down by 10%, and but at the same time they could increase their customer satisfaction scores, which went up by 7 points. So, you know, that's referenceable on our website. It's the full story is written up there, and what I like is it's the balance. It's relevant to our time, but it also shows how cost and CX go hand in hand. There's another quick story. It's not a referenceable customer, but it's a really important story. I was investigating employees with very high hold time for one of my customers. I found those contacts very simply because I searched for the phrase "put you on hold." Really simple use case. And what I found was a cohort of agents who were using hold 80 or 90% of the time. So I drilled into those contacts, and hold, there's not a lot happening in hold, right? It's silence. So normally if you use this in a silo, if you had a call recording, you'd know nothing. But because I had screen recording and desktop analytics, what I was able to do is say, well, what's happening whilst these guys are putting customers on hold? And what I saw on the desktop analytics, which shows by application, what application is being used, I'm always interested in people using Notepad or, those text tools. And I saw that was being used right in the middle of a long hold, and I went straight to that. I navigated straight to that, and I looked at the screen recording, and I was able to watch it. And I went, what had happened was the CRM was frozen, which is something employees face a lot at home. You've got, difficult broadband signals, less control for the organization. This employee, CRM was completely frozen, so they could not do their job. So they were copying and pasting data into Notepad, and the customer was left on hold for 6-7 minutes. They put the phone down. The employee was frustrated. The customer was frustrated. The costs were high. So that was a painful story to watch. But with our tool, we were able to do a couple of things. We were able to find out how many times it was happening. We were able to then push targeted coaching to that employee. So they were being coached on their hold contacts where the hold was long. We were also able to let that employee book in some time on their schedule to have some training on it. So that's the benefit of workforce engagement. You get insight into the customer experience with analytics. You can then take two really key actions. I can do coaching by pushing it into the quality process. I can allow an agent to have flexibility so they can have the right training. And I can see all of that together in one view of the truth in business intelligence.
What a fascinating story, Ed. And, it clearly shows that there are nuances of working from home. And unless we really drill down to understand what they are, it becomes difficult to actually impact the future and make sure that those are resolved. So that's a really interesting point that you've raised there. And I'm sure there's so many organizations out there that actually struggle with exactly the kind of case study that you just cited. Now, last but not the least, how does Calabrio distinguish itself from other players in the market?
I know everyone says they're special, but obviously we're really special. And the way we do it is, firstly, true cloud versus fake cloud. We think it's really important when you embrace the cloud, it has the true benefits of cloud, which means it's public cloud. It's not just an on-premises piece of software that's being rebadged. Why is that important? Well, on-premises software normally has 1, maybe 2 updates a year. Our cloud product gets updated every week. So what you get by having a true cloud provider is you get constant innovation. Secondly, you get lower cost because we are taking care of all the equipment needed for this. So let's take an example like analytics. Analytics is amazing, but using the latest technology, use things like GPUs, not CPUs. They can be quite expensive on an on-premises deployment. We take care of that. So if you're a customer who wants to take advantage of analytics, it makes it a lot easier. You can scale during your seasonality as well, so you can scale your licenses up and down. And of course, we have to make sure the best security is available to be a cloud company. So I think true cloud's important. At the same time, there's a lot of people in the true cloud industry. There are many people doing it, but they don't always have the most advanced features. So it's often a compromise. If you go in with a true cloud player, you might get more basic features. If you want really enterprise software, you might have to go on premises or private cloud. We deliver both. And we think we're pretty unique in being able to do full enterprise workforce engagement in true cloud. A couple of other things I think we have. We have the employee at the heart of our product. our products have been built with that end user in mind. And then the features within it, like the self-scheduling and some of the more innovative stuff like choose your own shift, are built with the workforce at its heart. Having myself worked in companies with a single solution, a single point solution, I love, I use our product all the time, to have one place for everything I need. So having a single suite for all those workforce engagement products saves a hell of a lot of time. And I'll wrap this all up in our brand. It's easy, personalized, and smart. We want it to be easy to use, easy to buy, easy to maintain. Because we have all those different capabilities, you can personalize, as I said, to different employees who have different needs. And we use AI, but we try and use it in a smart way. So you don't need a whole data science team to use our product. An end user can pick it up and use the benefits of the AI we have.
Sounds very exciting, and we're looking forward to hearing more about it when you're here in Dubai for the CX live show in a couple of weeks, where obviously Calabrio is one of our sponsors. So we look forward for the industry as well as ourselves to interact with you and hear a lot much more about how you've helped organizations and how you can further help new organizations that might want to choose Calabrio as a partner. So thanks so much for joining us today, Ed. It was a pleasure having you, and look forward to seeing you shortly.
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.